All right, today we're going to actually make some line plots using some data on a data table. So if I take this data on the data table and organize it, there's a couple different ways you could do it. I'm going to organize it looking at the smallest value is a 50 and the largest value is a 60. So I'm going to make my data table, get that going here. So I'm going to put my values. So I have 50, 50 and a half, 52, and I know there's some numbers skipping, that's okay, 55, 58 and a half, and 60. Then I will go over to my table and I'll count how many 50s using a tally. You don't have to do it this way, but you can. So there's two 50s. Cross them off as I go. I strongly suggest you do that. Make sure you don't miss anything. Okay. I know, saw another 50. There it is. 50 and a half. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We cross over and then we do another one, 6. So my total, I have 2 here, 6 here. 52, I have 1, 2. 55, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 58 and a half, I have 1, 2. And 60, I have 1, 2. So now I've got all my data. I can actually make my line plot. And my range is between 50 and 60. Just because of my space, I think I'm going to count by twos, 52, 54, 56, 58, and 60. And now I'm going to put my little dots in. So change the color for that. For 50, I'm going to say I have 2. For 50 and a half, remember 51 will go in between 50 and 52. So 50 and a half is going to go in between 50 and 51. Oh, be careful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 52, I have 2. Make sure you're lining them all up with the neighbors to the left and right. 55 is going to be between 54 and 56. I'm going to put 6 for that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It should be the same height as the other 6. 58 and a half. Remember, between 58 and 60 is 59. 58 and a half will go in between there. 1, 2, and 60, I have 2. So I have no outliers here, and I have 2 values that are actually the same, that occur the same number of times. So that's how you would create the line plot. You start with you have your raw data. That's your data. You make some kind of a chart, and then you make your line plot. And then you might have to interpret the line plot. So you might say there's no outliers. We might say we can see from our chart or our line plot that 50 and a half and 55 occurred the same number of times. Okay, moving on. So again, in this example, there's a data table, and it's all written. The data table is written all in a jumbo. So that after that, they are coming down here and they're organizing the data. They might write the data from least to greatest and then put it at a table, and that is actually a really good strategy. The least to greatest is a really good strategy, writing it from least to greatest. And then you can make your data table, and then you make your plot line. And you can watch the video on Savvis if you'd like to go through that a little bit more. Which weight occurs most often? We can look at our data and see that between 12 and 13, and what exactly is that? So I'm going to go back. It's a fraction. So it looks like between 12 and 13, it's divided into quarters. So it would be 12 and 1/4 occurs most often. 1/4, 12 and 1/4. On the next page, in the line plot of dog weights on the previous page, what does each dot represent? And each dot is the weight of one dog. One dog's weight. In a line plot, how do you determine the value to show on the number line? You have to look at your data set. It will determine your value. Draw a line plot to represent the data. And we already have the, they've already given you a table with a tally mark, so we can go right into doing our data. So we look at the range. It goes from 3.5 to 8.5. So we're probably going to want to make our line plot start at 3. And we have to go up beyond 8. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I had to go beyond 8 because I have 8.5. So for 3.5, there's 2. So I can put 2 dots. For 5.25, and you want to realize where's a quarter going to be. It's not going to be in the half. There's going to be 3 dots. Line them up with the other 2 that you already made. For 7 pounds, there's going to be 4 dots. That goes right on the 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. And for 8.5, which would be halfway between the 8 and the 9, there's 1 dot. And you could interpret this and say 7 is the most frequent. We call that the mode. You can say 8.5 is the least. You can say the range of the data goes between 8.5 feet to 3 or 8.5 pounds to 3.5 pounds. There's lots of information you can get from that data chart. There you go. Good luck.